Hail Internet, it's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We're here talking about She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, Season 1, Episode 6, Just Jen. We open with Jen being asked to be a bridesmaid for her high school friend's wedding. We end with yet another 10-second clip of anonymous people doing apparently threatening things. If I had to guess, the intelligentsia has a vibranium needle now that they can get She-Hulk's blood. There are real stakes, apparently, Paul. That said,
Ooh,
Paul,
and steak? Ooh.
What did you think of episode 6?
I liked it. You know, the stuff from the wedding was fun. And so that's all you really hope for. I mean, I might have wanted a little more. I mean, I'm not like big fight guy, but maybe could have had a little more of the fight between Titania and Jen. But it was fine. It's not going to change the world. It's just a little, after all the comedy, then they have a little fight. And there you go, so.
You're right. It's interesting. This is not an action show by any means, and it doesn't. I don't even think it professes to be. The only thing is, I think there was a little. I think they did a tease in episode 1. They had basically the best action scene they've had in the show was episode 1. It was like, the training montage. And then they've never. I mean, there was.
Well, I would even be more focused than that, and it really was when they had the fight. So when they were actually mad at each other,
right,
they were like, I'm going to leave and I'm going to stop you. That's when, that was the fun
because
part.
Since then we've had the two short Titanium fights, and then we've had the she got accosted by the wrecking crew. None of that. I mean, it wasn't. It's not choreographed. It's just like thing. We got to. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So it in that way, it is what it is. But it is. It's interesting that they front loaded it. You never know.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm interested in the Titania arc. Like, at the moment, there isn't one. It's like she's just there to get defeated. She's been defeated now twice physically, once in the law. Yeah. Like, is there anywhere for this? I mean, I'm one guess is that by the end of the season, maybe she's going to get She-Hulk's blood, and then she'll actually be as powerful as She-Hulk, and then season 2 will be like this thing. But boy, if they're playing that long,
I hope they're not playing that long.
That would be a mistake for the show. That's what they're doing.
Because one of the things that the concept I heard first introduced back in MASH, and the actor who played Frank Burns called him a comical contrivance.
Okay.
And it was frustrating for me, actually, because all the other characters, I don't know if you ever watched MASH.
Oh, I watched MASH quite a bit back in the day, yeah.
So you're familiar with it. That turn where they said, okay, we can start having more serious, storylines here for these characters. And the actor apparently was like, not for me. No, thank you. Like for him, it was just, his character is supposed to be comedic, so that's all he was concerned about. And, that can be limiting for a character. And look, it feels like that's what they're doing with Titania, where, we get a sense that she's very superficial, and, that's the joke, and that's fine. And here she gets humiliated after, attempting to come back at Jen. It's possible that maybe she'll hook up with whoever is trying to get the blood. I hope not. I'd rather see something else for that character. I don't want her season 2
I'm just throwing out like a possible arc.
The big bad. I know, I'm saying, you're right. That's a possible arc, but that's not what I would like.
Okay.
I'd rather see her, have to deal with something else. What else parts of her life, does she have to deal with? How do people suffer when they're superficial like that? Are there people in their life that they can't relate to honestly, and therefore they have to think about changing?
Maybe there's a coming to terms. Oh wow, this person, Titania felt such a need to be popular that she was willing to go and ambush me at a wedding, and it didn't work. And she's but maybe there's some kind of a we talked about in the Rings of Power Arwen pitying the Numenorians. Maybe there's like, I pity you somehow. I don't know, but
yeah. I mean, maybe like in
wall.
say Dangerous Liaisons, where the person who was scheming all that eventually had to fall.
Yeah.
So if people were trying to cancel her, then maybe that might require her to actually do something other than what we've seen, which that's.
But yeah, I guess what we're talking about in a way is something I was thinking about, which, again, I give credit to the show for trying this sitcom genre in a Marvel show. So thumbs up for that. But I do feel like we're seeing the limits if they're not going to have some kind of if people aren't going to move forward.
Sure.
Which I assume means they must. But we are in episode 6, or now episode 7.
Right.
For instance.
Yeah, I don't look at her necessarily as well. I mean, she could end up being part of the regular cast just because she's appeared a number of times. I think Nikki and Mallory and I keep forgetting his name.
Oh right, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Her male colleague there.
Pug.
Yes. Those are the main characters, So as long as they're, that I feel like most comedy shows, they attend to the characters that are part of the main show. And just because you have somebody coming in a couple of times, you do want them to, have some sort of arc or whatever. But they're less important in terms of the show. So as long as, as long as the third time if she appears, then some changes occurred, I'm perfectly fine.
I just feel like I'm thinking about, for instance, comparing it to WandaVision, which was obviously very effective.
Sure.
That began for a few episodes as a sitcom. And they stuck with the sitcom idea. You had a few little hints of like, oh, something's weird. But generally, it was like, nope, it's a sitcom. And obviously, by the end, it became this really dramatic examination of loss. And Wanda's powers were at the middle of it. So that, that shows you a thing of like, hey, you could be a sitcom, but then also you could give more to that. And I wonder.
I don't know. I don't think that's the best example to choose, but you certainly want some change, But most sitcoms, if they have main characters, they have those change. So she's a side character. She said that she was going to come back. She came back, and she, they fought again. Presumably, there's only 3 episodes left, so we might see her again.
3 short episodes, so you're talking 75 minutes essentially.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm amazed though that they we still haven't seen Matt, so he's probably not going to be a major part of the storyline.
Right, a great point.
They really gave a lot of.
We're going to see Daredevil? No, we're not yet. In this episode, at least,
Yeah. They really gave a lot of the story to the end, and I'm suspicious that the dude she was talking to is not involved in some way.
Agree. It makes the most sense that the guy who seems perfect for her, who just struck up a conversation at the wedding, is working for the bad guys.
Yeah. So obviously that's what will probably be the rest of the season, which is fine.
Yeah, just I feel like this show isn't, to my taste, and obviously everybody's got comedy subjective. To my taste, the show isn't funny enough to hold its own as a sitcom, but it's also not legal enough to be like a legal show.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like I was watching John Oliver like 2 weeks ago, maybe, anyway, with his show on HBO, and his show, the main topic was like he was discussing how Law and Order and its spin-offs have kind of like shaped what people think about law in the United States.
Sure.
This show doesn't do that. This show is not.
Definitely not.
You're not
definitely
coming to the show
no.
going, oh, that's an interesting legal theory. No,
definitely not.
It's just
and one thing we haven't even mentioned is the actual legal story in this episode. I like that character of the Immortus. I like the actor who played him. So I think they
Chicago Improv guy. We talked about him because he was also in Boba Fett. He played the Major Domo in Boba Fett.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, I did not recognize him.
Yeah. So he's making the rounds in the big series.
That's pretty on the Disney series, Yeah.
So, yes. So he was, Mr. Immortal. And, just to avoid conflicts, he just, quote unquote, dies. And then
is it common in the law for a paralegal to work out, negotiate, between parties?
No. But that's fine. Do paralegals sometimes have to go and deal with clients and stuff? Yes, but ultimately, a paralegal tends to work behind the scenes,
yes.
make the attorney look good, and then the attorney does that work. Yeah. So anyway, so just saying the show has a hard time finding its lane. I don't think it's funny enough for a sitcom. I don't think it's legal enough for a legal show, and it's certainly not even trying to be an action show. So it's like, find it. It's like lighthearted. It's a lighthearted show.
Yes, and it's and perhaps it's just it's taking them a while to decide exactly what because if I were in charge, if I were Kevin Feige, I'd say go further, keep trying, take chances, and so it may be just they're figuring things out and But one thing though that occurred to me about the comedy. And in comparing it to the shows that I've compared it to, which is Rick and Morty, and with, I almost said Hilary Swank, and it's not that, Harley Quinn.
Hilary Swank, we'll take it.
Yes, Hilary Swank. Yeah, so Harley Quinn. One of the things that they're not afraid of doing is having real faults in their characters that, might stick around for a while. So, Rick is very, self-centered and
he's
arrogant
got tons
and all
of problems,
that.
frankly.
Yeah, and they don't tend to leave. They make the jokes out of that, and then they have problems that come as about of that. But at the end of the day, he still has those problems. And of course, Harley Quinn is a murderous, crazy person, and that doesn't tend to go.
Right.
And so. For Jen, though, she's a little insecure maybe, but not that actually insecure, which is fine. But other than that, and so I'm not really sure where they're pulling the comedy out. I mean, other than, hey, it's being a woman, it's not easy to be a woman.
Right.
Which is fine, but, if they were willing to say that she had some other, like even other sitcoms we have, Friends and Seinfeld and all that, their behavior is a little more crazy.
Right.
And it's okay. Yeah. That could be, and The Office and all that, it can be done.
I'd almost be, I know this will sound like ridiculous, because why would they do this? But this show would almost be more enjoyable to me if Jen's She-Hulk persona was a figment of her imagination.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because She-Hulk's main purpose
like
to me...
Moon Knight?
Good point. There we go. It seems like at
you
the moment,
actually want it to all be in her head.
All in her head. Put it all in her head. It'd be great. Legion, baby. Because it feels like Legion. Feels like She-Hulk's main purpose in this series is to show Jen how popular she can be as someone else. She-Hulk gets the dates. She-Hulk is popular. She-Hulk gets cool outfits. She-Hulk gets the job. And it's just, it feels so mundane, I guess. It kind of reminds me actually of an old Monty Python sketch. I think I'm getting this right. It's been a while. Mr. Neutron.
Oh,
so there was the Mr. Neutron sketch with Graham Chapman. And the idea was Mr. Neutron, the most dangerous man on the planet. He could destroy the world at any moment. But we just cut to shots of him drinking tea, and he's living in the burbs. But watch out! At any moment! And, that works for a comedy sketch where you're defying the expectation of, oh, this person has powers, look out. But I don't think you want to... You don't think you can stretch an entire series based on this person's going to live their day. It's going to live like a mundane, moderately successful lawyer. Great. But they're having power and they're not using it, but they could. Look out. It's a tease that eventually gets old, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that her power in using it necessarily needs to be the crux of it. I think they just went further with their ideas. That's all. They have some concepts, and it's possible. Any concept can really be, extrapolated to an extreme. They're just not doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like Mallory could have been more of a threat, or Titania she was a little more competent, maybe, or causing more problems for Jen. If they were trying to make it a joke, and it was, I guess, it's weird. It shouldn't have bothered, and it didn't look like it bothered Jennifer at all. The fact that her friends basically think she's a doormat.
Right. Yeah.
And so she just accepts that, and it's like, okay, but why don't you go further with that? Does she realize that? Does it bother her that that's going on? Why is she even friends with them?
Well,
they could go further.
Even the idea, what actually happened, so Titania works her way into the wedding so she can attack She-Hulk.
Yes.
And admits doing so. All right. That's the premise. Jen's like, she's just here to attack me. And everybody's like, oh, you're just thinking it. Blah, you're overthinking it.
Yes.
Then Jen, who is now drunk and is basically defenseless, gets punched in the face, thrown against a bench by T'Challa. So that is she's getting assaulted. That is that's a huge deal. That could be, if you wanted to play it that way, a huge deal with actual stakes. Oh my God. Right. Titania is so obsessed that she waited till I was completely knocked out drunk and then decided to attack me. But instead, it's like, it's played in such a way that you don't think there's a threat at all.
Well,
like, no, there's no threat here.
But if you think about it, there is a way that typically, if you wanted to have a comedy show, where you would play that, where she was actually undermining Jennifer when people weren't looking, or in a way that other people weren't missing it. They should have escalated. So I had things happening throughout where she was doing things to undermine her, as opposed to just sort of irritating her, and then at the end attacking her. So, there's a way to do it that they're just choosing not to do.
Right. I feel like they're
why didn't they could have escalated, like, okay, all the slights that her friends were doing against her, really. So, they were, okay, why don't you do this, or why don't you move that around, or whatever. Why didn't they escalate that to a point where she had a reaction to it, as opposed to
like
just
an
sort
absurd
of
level,
shrugging it off? Yeah.
I agree. There's they seem to be missing the avenues, the games they could be playing for comedy. Like, oh, here's a game. They created a game. Everybody at the wedding just throws crap. Oh, iron these shirts. Oh, fix these chairs. Okay, great. That's a good game. All right, let's play it. Let's play it out. And instead, it's move on with the thing. Like,
Yeah. So, I think it could be better. I hope that the show gets enough. It's getting a fair amount of attention. I think does feel tempted to go further. That's what I want from Loki, and that's what I would have wanted from WandaVision had they done a second season. I still want to see more with Vision, and I hope they bring Wanda back. We might not get that show back again, but I want those characters, and that's what that's the promise of the shows, really, and that you focus on them, and then you really exploit that situation.
Right. As opposed to just having like a single 2-hour movie or something, you get, I get 2 or 3 seasons of this character, and I get to see them, change. Much like I'll give credit to the Netflix Daredevil, right? That version of Daredevil through 3 seasons, we saw a lot of changes in that character.
Yeah, they did a lot of heightening and escalation and all that.
I think I may have mentioned
and that wasn't even a comedy.
That wasn't even a comedy. I might have mentioned this story before. I probably did. I don't know. It's been years. We've been doing this forever, Paul.
Yes, we have.
But back in the day, I played an online game called City of Heroes. A very cool game. You could customize your own hero. My friends all got into it. It was very fun. But the reason I stopped playing was due to what I consider to be a baffling decision on the part of the creators. So, if you had a superhero group, your own version of a Justice League or whatever in the game, you could create and customize your own superhero base, which was awesome. That was a great idea. That's not why that wasn't a problem. The bases were cool, but eventually, so we created this base and customized it out. It was really cool. It was very useful in the game, but also kind of just a cool thing to go check out, and it was neat. Yeah. The game decided that the players, or I guess the players by way of the characters, needed to pay rent to keep the bases open. So on a typical day, let's say I come home from actual work, and then I log on to my City of Heroes job, where I'm like, I would go arrest, if you want to call it that, enough villains to pay the rent on my base, which took a long time, and then I would log off. So I was paying rent in my superhero game. It was like, I don't think, people I don't think go to comics and superheroes to watch them pay rent. And so I feel like similarly, it's like we don't go, like, we want to see superheroes be superhero-y. We want to see the fantasy of it.
For me, it's enough that she has powers and he has to deal with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say it has to be a superhero because that's what I think is different about this show. So the fact that she deals with, in fact, that case, again, they could have taken it further where there was even when they were upset with each other, even if it doesn't have to go to violence, they could have actually, he was so non-confrontational. And maybe they didn't need so many wives, so they could cut down the different characters that he had to deal with. Why didn't he need 8 or whatever? How many wives there? Why couldn't it be 2 or 3? Just because he's an immortal, he keeps doing it. They could have. So
well, also I'll just say this. I mean, and we've talked about this with other shows, a la Netflix's Daredevil at the time. They have now introduced to the MCU Mr. Immortal. The guy is immortal.
Yes.
Like, what? And you probably will never come back again. And you're
probably not, no.
You're like, what? Wait, but this, you put him into a universe where all this stuff is so theoretically connected. You've got a guy who is basically Wolverine without the, without the claws. And you're like, that's fine. No, we just did it for a laugh. But wait. Maybe call that guy. Hey, we got a thing we need doing. We need somebody to fall off a building. Can you do that? Okay, I'll see you at 5.
I feel like there are a number of people who are fairly indestructible, where you wouldn't necessarily need to call the guy who can survive, and that's all he does apparently.
Right.
Is just live through getting killed. He's one thing I didn't realize. I'd never heard of his character, and he's part of a group that is full of people who are kind of have lame powers.
Oh, okay.
That could be funny ultimately, is seeing some of these other characters who have lame powers. But I feel like there are characters I like, but it could be better.
Yeah. I agree. I think there's a place this show could go, and it hasn't gone there yet.
Yeah.
We got 3 episodes left.
Yes.
We'll take this season out, and we'll see where they end up with Jen's character. But other than that, we'll be back talking about Rings of Power. We're going to be talking about House of the Dragon. And Paul, we actually did get a couple of commenters have asked if we're covering Andor.
We'll see.
No. So I did check, and Andor is a long enough series. I think it's 12 episodes. That by the time, let's say, House of the Dragon and Rings of Power and She-Hulk are ending, that's about mid-season for Andor. So we could probably pick up mid-season of Andor. So maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway.
Yeah, especially if you look at those first 3 episodes, they almost play like one episode.
Right. Yeah.
So if we looked at those as sort of the first block, the second block, and then pick it up. Yeah.
Yep. So we may indeed be doing that. So that'd be like mid-October or something. We may be jumping in on Andor, but at the moment we have our hands full.
Yes, that's right.
For sure. So all right. Well, cool. Thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good sir. And we will talk to everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye.